Hello, everybody, and welcome to Keeping It Real with the Sisters of the Light. I'm Ann Kuether here with Terri-Ann Russell. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. All right, Miss Terri-Ann, tell them what we're doing and what we're talking about. And yeah.
So, I was sitting here the other day, and when I messaged you, I'm like, well, what about, we haven't talked about simulation and like what people think about whether this is all simulation. And I had this discussion with my girlfriend the other day, and she said to me, you had never seen The Matrix? And I said, no, in the 90s or whenever it came out, 2000s. My sons were
either.
Really, so my sons were really big into it. They loved Neo and loved the whole concept. But I had never seen it. So a few years ago, Tim had mentioned it to me, and he's like, you've never seen The Matrix? And I'm like, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
So let me see. It says somebody's on. So if you're on,
yeah,
Cherie. Hi, Cherie. Cherie, we're talking about simulation. So Matrix. So the Matrix, and then I think they just recently made the fourth one. But so I had never seen it. And I saw it and I was like, holy cow, like it's totally possible that this is I don't know if the whole concept, but people have said, I've heard people say it is a documentary, so I'm not sure. The information that I get is that parts of it were accurate. And so think about a simulation, right? My son has the VR. You're in a whole simulated world. You can change things and do what you want, right? So simulation, how I view it is each one of us has our own lens that we view things through.
Right.
And my world is totally different than Ann's world. And Ann's world is totally different than, say, Cherie's world. And so we have this perspective and this lens that we view the world through. So let me tell you, so I channeled Salazar is my Arcturian High Council guide. He said to me a few minutes before we came on, I asked him about simulation, and this is what he said. Yes, indeed, my dear, you are quite literally what you would call living in a simulation. Think of it as your brain as the electricity and your eyes are the projector for that which you see. Unknown to most humans, you create everything in your world, and every day it changes based on your thoughts, your patterns, the way your frequency is, and any internal work that you've done through yourself. So every day that reality can be changed and altered.
Right. And I agree with that, because I do agree there is something about us when we go to sleep. We have the ability, right, when we wake up in the morning to put out how we want that day to go. Now, granted, we're working with other people's energies, but if I wake up and set my intention, I really want to be happy today. I want it to go easily today. When it's not, and I do have to say that when I make those intentions, not all the time it goes through, that way, but a lot of the times when I do start with the day with those intentions, it does go that way. So I agree with that. We do have, each day is a new day to write a new chapter on that white piece of paper of how we want to see that day, come about.
Yeah. Right. And think about it, right? When I used to go to work and you'd be rushing. I was dropping the kids off at a daycare before I'd go to work, and I dropped the coffee, hit my foot. Everything starts, I'm late for work. Everything starts snowballing. I'm like, this is a sucky day. And then from there, it continues to get worse and worse, right? So think about it, because you may have started one thing that, say, you hit your foot, but that doesn't have to ruin your whole day. It's what's going on up here that's going to bring to you what you're perceiving as your reality today is. And so if you think your day sucks, honestly, it's probably going to suck.
Yeah, because not only you're putting out that this day sucks energy, right? So that goes back to that like attracts like. So if I'm putting out negative energy, I'm going to attract the negative energy. Or even when I don't think I'm putting out the negative energy, but I have it going inside of me, but I'm just using my psyche to be like, suck it up, buttercup, and move on. But inside, I still have that negative energy. It's still shining through me.
It's still projecting.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, see, that is a really cool way to look at it.
So what do you think about simulation? So you were telling me before the show you had never heard of the Truman Show.
Never. I want to watch it because when I got on the little YouTube or whatever, just to look it up, like, okay, what is this? I'm like, oh, that is so true. Because I've had people, years and years ago have said that really they, have said that what if we are that big if? What are if this is just a huge dream? If this is really not going on, but we make
Mhm.
it think that it is going on, that is that's trippy. Cherie said, I always say we are in the true show. To my husband, oh, no way. So she's seen it. Yeah, but it's so true. And where I want to watch that show is because, like we were saying before, and we've said it many a times, and I think I've discussed it even with Cherie and other people, is from the moment we are born, we are told exactly how we're going to act, how we are going to behave, how we're going to dress, how we're not going to dress, who we're going to hang around with, who we don't hang around with. It's just we are conditioned to be almost like robots, and yet we don't even know that we're robots. We're independent and we're doing our own thing, but we're not doing our own thing. Somebody is telling us something. And that's what caught me, like in that YouTube little
Mhm.
thing that they had on it. They were even talking about the marketing, the marketing, even the little signs, that say, oh, you got to carry this purse or you got to wear those shoes to say you're successful. Because if you're only buying, what is it? I don't even think they're around anymore. The Payless shoes. Payless shoes, which I used to love their sneakers from Payless, but they're Payless shoes. Well, then that means that you're not wealthy, right? Everything has a
Yeah.
status, and they're trying to teach you something. Even the like last time we were talking about, not to bring it up, but it's a great thing. Even when these people get these new teachers and everybody that's out there saying, join my class, I'm going to show you how to get this success, whatever. Stop doing what they did. That is not working. You don't realize it, but they are switching it and they're doing their own little marketing on you that you don't even realize, because you're falling for that hope of, oh my gosh, maybe this is the one person that can change it for me. This is the one thing that can change it for me. And I like about the stimulation, like you said, is that aha moments that make us just stop and we start questioning. I'm not questioning because maybe because you did tell me something, but it's my own self that got curious and wanted to ask a little bit more. And when you get curious, I think that's when
Mhm.
things start evolving, right?
Or to say, like, what is this about? Like, I always feel like everything is opportunity and a sign. That's the way I look at life.
I
So
wish
when
I could do
somebody
that
sends
sometimes.
me, yeah, when somebody sends me a link or a YouTube
Mhm.
or something and says, oh, you got to watch this, oh, you got to read this, I
Mm.
always take that as a sign. Okay, this is something. And I've found amazing things. Think of the Truman Show like a exaggerated version of what we are in this reality,
Right,
because
right,
truly it is that. Like, we are getting signs and synchronicities every day that Terri-Ann needs to see. So a lot
right,
of times when I talk to people, right, I'll say, well, this is Terri-Ann's truth, my truth, based on my experiences, my what I perceive to be based on my patterns, thoughts, and beliefs throughout my entire life.
right.
Now, how this gets funky to me, I always think this is crazy. It's so flippy. So in psychology class a long time ago, I learned about, families. And in families, there are siblings. And if you've had siblings, you've grown up in the same house with the same parents, but you have two different views of what happened when you were growing up.
Right.
Now, more than one person has told me this over and over again when we discuss it. So it can't be something like it's not true. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Every family has experienced something like this. Like, oh, we went to that birthday party. And remember, I ate that cake and I was sick. And your brother's like, no, I don't remember anything about the birthday party anywhere. So
Yeah.
it's like two different total perspectives. Either it never happened or
Mhm.
it just didn't happen that way.
Right. Or it could even be the teachings of your parents. Like I could say, oh my gosh, my parents were so kickback. They were so loving. You know what I mean? They were awesome. And then I could have my brother be like, are you kidding me? Our parents were so freaking strict. They were like, no, you can't do this. No, you better be home by this. No, the house better be clean. But then I could be like, oh my gosh, they were so kicked back. But yet we were in the same house, grew up by the same parents. But you're absolutely right. It's the two perspectives.
Yeah.
And yeah, but don't you ever just wonder at like yourself on this? Don't you ever just wonder like, is this real or are we making this up? I do that time to time. I really do. I think I question even my gifts because of that. Like,
You know
do I
why?
really have
Because
it or is it, or am I making this up? Or is this just a big dream? I do. Oh, I just said that earlier. But you know what I mean? I do that once in a while. Like maybe.
you think it's because the logical brain tells you.
Mhm,
The logical brain needs physical proof.
mhm,
Right? The logical brain isn't intuitive. The logical brain wants to see,
yeah,
it needs proof that this is existent. The
absolutely.
intuitive brain says go with what you're getting from your higher self, or,
Mhm,
oh, that's a sign to me.
yeah.
So it's like two different sides of the brain fighting with one another. Like, and I think that comes into play because we are a free will species. We are here. We have free will. We've discussed this numerous times before. I think it's still so fascinating
Mhm.
that those things that you're supposed to do, that you're contracted to do in this life, your soul will make sure that you do them, whether it takes you 5 years or 20 years. Your soul is
Yeah.
going to make sure that you do them.
Yeah. And no, I totally agree with that. I totally agree. And with you, it's not, yes, it's a logic, but I also think it's my ego too. I know
Mhm.
it's my ego
Well, the
because
ego too.
oh, yeah, and the ego is, what keeps us in line. It doesn't want us to fall out of the box. Like I always tell everybody, our ego is like, when they say, "Oh my gosh, they start working, right? They start working for that awakening or getting really deep within themselves on the spiritual side." And they say, "Oh my gosh, Anne, it's even harder, more harder now than it was before I started this." And then they start doubting, okay, maybe Anne's teaching me wrong, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. And what I always tell them is like, no, it's because the ego, how you go look at it, it sees a file cabinet. And when something comes up, it goes through and it finds that card or that file. This is how we react. This is how we're supposed to react. And this is how we're going to handle the situation. But now that we're turning and we're starting to learn from our inner selves and not listen to the ego and its past beliefs, it goes to a brand new file, cabinet. And when it opens up that cabinet door, there's no files. So then it goes into panic mode because it can't find the file. So what it's going to do is going to do everything it possibly can to make you feel protected and like, oh no, you got to step away, you got to come
Mhm,
back because this
mhm.
is what we know. We don't know that empty file cabinet. We only know this file cabinet,
Right.
right? And
Okay.
so to me, is the ego is that battling with the
Yeah.
ego. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
I don't.
let's go a little deeper.
Okay, let's
Somebody
go.
messaged me and they
Oh,
wanted to know what are glitches and have you experienced them?
okay. Well, what the heck is a glitch? I don't know. Have I? You tell me what the kind of glitch is, and I'll tell you if I've had it. I'm sure I've had. Believe me,
I'm
I'm
sure
sure
you
I've had.
have. So a glitch, I looked it up. A glitch is defined as a puzzling occurrence with no logical explanation. And
Mhm,
how I explain a glitch is it's very blatant and in your face. So
mhm.
there's two kind of glitches that I've seen. One is like seeing through the dimensions, through the sun and the clouds. I can sometimes, if I really unfocus my eyes, I can see through to the other side that exists. That's the
Holy
first
cow.
one. The second one is with people. I've had this happen several times, and I think I've talked about this before. My husband and I were on the road traveling, and we met this woman in the store, and we were talking about jello or something, but she kept saying she liked the green jello.
Mhm.
That's all she would say. So like, oh, I like the green jello. So we're like, oh, that's good. Do you live here? I like the green jello. How's the weather here? I like the green jello. It was like a glitch. So think of it as in a game or a movie or a record when the record would skip,
Right?
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 That's a
Yeah.
glitch. It's a something. So I looked it up. What it actually is new codes are being introduced into the simulation,
Okay.
or they're operating errors.
Mm.
So it's like one of those occurrences. Cherie, do you know about glitches?
See, I don't know if I can say I had a glitch. Like, if I think of something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this would be a glitch, but like, something will come like before I do a reading on somebody, right? So far out there, like on how to make collard greens will come up. I'm like, collard greens? Okay, why am I watching this about collard greens? And then I'll do a reading and the person will start talking about collard greens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just read this recipe on collard greens this morning before I got on with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that is just a way for spirit to say, okay, no, you're connecting and this is proof to this person.
Right.
Or is that the glitch? Or is literally you're saying the glitch is that time and space, where there's a gap and it kind of repeats itself.
Mm-hmm. So Cherie says she's familiar with glitches. So how have you experienced any glitches, Cherie? Can you tell us? Yeah. So it's like that record skipping, or like the computer, like the game, like a simulation game. Remember the old games like Nintendo and Atari?
Yes.
How they were like very 3D, right? You had a
very
thing and a ball, and it used to
Pong.
go
I love that one. Yeah, that was my favorite.
Right?
Okay.
But do you remember when it used to get, the joystick used to get stuck? And the thing would go like up and down crazy like this?
No.
Okay, well, I do. In my world, that existed.
Okay.
The joystick would get stuck, and the whatever.
Okay, this is a family show, right? So you got to watch the joystick.
The joystick on the controller of the game.
Okay, people. Oh my gosh, no, I don't remember having that, but I'm sure I did.
So that's like a glitch. It's like continuously like moving or stuck in the corner, and then it would like loosen itself up and the ball would go. Oh. So for me, it's a person that starts a conversation randomly and then they're just gone. They fade. Yes. That has happened to me as well. They appear and then they're gone, or all of a sudden you see somebody and then they're gone. I love that. That's a great example. Thank you.
No, okay, help me out. I need help with that. So what do you mean? You talk to a person, you blink your eye, and then the person is gone?
Mm-hmm.
What?
It's like all of a sudden they were never there.
Okay, now that I can, because I don't know if you remember from one of our episodes, and Sherry's like, yes. Okay, remember one of our episodes that we did, right in the beginning of all this, I was saying how I was coming home from school, I was taking night classes at San Diego State, and my car ran out of gas. Now, we were down in the gas lamp, and they're only one-way streets, but a car was coming the opposite way, and he pulled over, and he was the cutest little old man. And we were late. I think it was like 11:30 at night, right? There was nobody else on those streets. And he's like, would you like me to take you up the hill to the 7-Eleven gas station? And I'm like, yes, would you? Because back then you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have all that. So I'm like, okay, what else am I going to do? He's either going to kill me here or he's going to kill me up there. And then he took me to the gas station. I walked inside. I asked the guy, because I didn't have any change out front. So I just asked the guy, can I give you some change? As soon as my sister gets here, I'll pay you for the quarter or whatever, to call my sister or whatever. And the guy's like, sure. And I turn around to thank the gentleman, and he was gone. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did that guy go? And the guy said, who? I'm like, that guy who brought me here. And the guy looked at me, he goes, there was nobody walked in here with you. He must have thought I was nuts. But then that was my first time, now looking back at it, that I got that chill of like, did I just meet one of my angels? You know what I mean? Because I thought he walked in with me. I thought he was whatever. And that guy's like, there's nobody, just you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So that to me would be one of those, but I can't imagine like, hey, hand me that salt. And then you turn away and the person's gone. That would freak me out. So that's happened to you?
Think about it. It's like, again, going back to the computer game, right? And it's all a simulation. So there's people, I don't know if you would call them people. So there's people on Earth that are really just like, I guess they call them like background people, like as if you had like, how you have like a cast. How do I explain this? You have like a cast.
This is just like
Yeah, you're watching a movie and there's the main characters.
Yes.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
they're always casting. So say they're out at a baseball game, they're casting all these extras that are sitting in the
Yes. To
bleachers.
fill in. Yeah. To take up
So
the
I'm
space.
channeling this right now. So there's all the extras in the bleachers or whatever. They are like extra whatever walk-ins or extra players in the game.
Okay. To fill in our space of the world of
So
how we
not
think it
everybody
is
you
going.
see on this earth in the stores where you go and amusement parks are real people.
Okay. Okay. And I've heard this before. I've heard a talk before. I think it was called the Mastermind that I went to seminar. I went to years and years ago, right? And they were talking about how everything that we perceive is actually not there. It's the fill-in. Let's call it the fill-in. But then my rational thinking is like, okay, I can kind of get that, right? Because it's just we're thinking that the world is actually going the way it's not. But then that's when I think, okay, so then I'm going to tell myself to get into that accident. I'm literally going to cause that accident to happen. And then that snake to come into my yard. Why would I tell my brain, okay, you're going to have this snake appear in your yard? Like, why would I do that?
Right. Well, people say the same thing when they go, why would I be negative? Why would I want bad things to happen? They're just thoughts.
Which is true. Which is true. That's why I say when accidents happen and stuff like that, I think it's just because there's just a shitload of us out here and we're all thinking so many different thoughts and whatever that they're just, it's like wires running every inch way. And then one time it's just, they're just going to have to cross.
Right.
The paths are just going to be off by just a
Mhm.
minute. But I can't imagine somebody says, okay, I want to come here and I want to come into this world and I cannot see. I'm going to have no eyesight. Like I just can't.
You
I
can't
can't
imagine it as a
wrap
human, but as a spirit, that's what that person wanted to, that spirit, that soul
experience.
wanted. So think about it like with me and Anthony. Like
Mm,
I've fought with him for almost 3 years now. He's been in spirit. And
yeah.
I still fight with him because he told me it was my idea. Not only did you agree to it, it was your idea. So in a past life, he was my husband and he died. I died and he watched me die. I died in his arms. I got hit by lightning. Okay. I did a
Yeah.
past life regression with my girlfriend and all of this came through. So Terri-Ann's soul was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to go back and I'm going to experience it now
Mhm.
from my side. So I
Yeah.
can know what that feels like. But I'm like, I call bullshit on that because that's a husband and wife and we're mother and child is totally different.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
think about it. In spirit, we want to experience different things. This is the harshest, densest planet in the universe.
Yes. Yes. Do you think so, or do you think there's even a crazier, more crazier place out there that we don't even know? Because I do have to say, I do agree that we are very stupid. No, not stupid. I don't want to put anybody down. So maybe I'm just saying myself. I'm stupid and is stupid if I believe that we're the only people out there.
Oh, I
I
don't think so. I think there's probably more. It's just Earth is the only one I know. But think
yeah.
about it. I'm never coming back to this planet. I say that as Terri-Ann, human.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Terri-Ann's soul is like, okay, we'll see when you get there to spirit what you have to
Yeah.
say about that.
But you know what though? But I think when you come in, because I do believe, we're spirits, coming in, having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe because we're spirits and we know that we know that if we are taken from this life, that we know it as earth, right? That where we go to after this is so wonderful that's why I think you can go like, yeah, I'll go in as a blind person. You don't realize the struggle or whatever you're having, right? Um, but then when I leave, I'm going back to the magical. Maybe that
Mm-hmm.
is what helps you decide what path you're going to take.
I don't know. The song
Because
I
you
always
want to go
hear.
through that, like yours go through so many years of, like, you know what I mean? Like you said, it's been 3 years. That's not that long.
No, it's
Your
not.
life here on earth, you're still going to miss your son.
Right. And I'm supposed to be here 30 more years. So that's like 33
Right?
years. All
So
right. Like,
somewhere on that dotted line, you're like, you know what? I'm going to go to earth. I'm
I
going to
call
leave my
bullshit.
son. And I'm going, yeah, like that's where I have And it's not that I don't have sympathy, but that's where my brain, like you were saying, the logical side, it just can't comprehend it.
Right, because as a human, we can't comprehend why anybody would make such an outrageous
Absolutely.
contract
Yeah.
with their soon-to-be child in this life. But in spirit, everything is grandiose. It's like, okay, I'm going there to learn. I'm going there to experience what this is.
Yeah.
And
But then
so,
again, if we didn't, right? If we didn't go and experience this, we would be even more horrible robots. If it didn't have, we only came back if it was only going to be wonderful experience, then you're right. What are we experiencing?
right, we're here to experience. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about what deja vu is. I know you know what deja vu is.
Yes, I've had that many a times, many a times.
So what do you think deja vu is actually? Do you have a theory on what you think it is?
To me, deja vu is I've already experienced it. Like it, oh, Terri-Ann, there's my aha moment. Deja vu is my glitch. I've already experienced it in the time, but it brought me back to that time. I went faster than what my body caught up to it.
Well, think about it, because it's with the same people. Like I've had deja vu with my husband and my daughters in the same place at the same time. So how could that have been? Because we've never been together before, okay? Except right now.
But I think we went a little bit faster than what it was meant. Like, you know how I said all those
I absolutely believe.
I went too fast. Somebody missed their mark and didn't slow me down. So it gave me, and so I went ahead and I passed my deja vu and it glitched me. They had me come back. I had that small little glimpse and then it brought me back.
What is that movie? There was a movie with Tom Cruise out. Did you ever see that? And he keeps dying until he gets it right.
Oh no, isn't that like Groundhog Day? Didn't that happen in Groundhog Day? You know, where the guy woke up?
It wasn't that. No, it was some. I have to ask Tim if he knows it. So anyway, yeah, I believe there's certain people that believe that like deja vu is other timelines, parallel timelines too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like a glitch in the system. Like there's something I feel like, this is for me. I feel like it's something I can change then. So like if I did something bad in that scene, say, let's just use the word bad, I can change what happened in that scene. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that's a huge deja vu though. I mean, that is a glimpse of the day before that day. I mean, you would have to have such a huge timeline to make that adjustment, right?
Yeah. Well, you want to talk about timelines? I've been timeline jumping like crazy, girl.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? Oh my God, my favorite show. And sure, put Vanilla Sky. Is that the name of the movie that you're talking about?
Tim's the movie buff. I'll ask him though. Thank you.
Okay. Outlander. You know how she goes back in time, she meets her love of her life, and then she has to go back to the 60s or whatever from where she was from. But she knew about all the wars when she went back in Outlander, and she wanted to help prevent it. But if you stop and you prevent it, well, then you might have stopped preventing, then maybe your son wouldn't have been born. Maybe your daughter, if you go and change it because it wasn't meant to change.
Right. A lot of people say that about going back in time. And there's so many movies. I feel like they give us through movies like little bits and pieces of what it really is.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm one of those people, and I heard it. I forgot where I heard it, and I totally, I agree with it. What we see on the news and what we see in movies and what we hear from NASA and all that stuff, like, you know, the Jetsons, right? Oh my gosh, these things that can fly. Oh my gosh, these guys must have been so smart. I think it was already in play. It's just us as the people that are being hidden. We didn't know, but it was already out there. Like it was already in plan. Like they already knew that this was coming. They just didn't share it with the world, that they were making, you know what I mean? Different things.
You know, think about it. Is it the
cars without electricity? That's been in the works for so many years before us even knowing, before they put it out there to the world.
Right. Well, think about it. I used to live on Long Island, and there's something called Montauk Point that was big for the government, and they used to do a lot of remote viewing there, which they consider remote viewing governmental because they're going in and seeing what their spies are doing and all.
Mhm.
But they say that remote viewing doesn't exist,
Oh, it
okay?
totally
All
exists. It
right,
totally exists.
so
Well, that's just like when I was watching that YouTube thing on that Truman store
Mhm.
or story, and whatever that little robot or whatever is that's talking to you, which is kind of cool. I think I might get on their site again. I wish I would have wrote down what I was, but they were talking about is so true. Have you ever? It just happened to me the other day because our grass is because it's so hot, right? We have a patch of the grass that is burning, and I'm like, we got to find something for our grass, like that's going to help it grow. Pick up my phone whenever I pick it up, same day, not too much longer. And it's all the freaking different kind of grass stuff out there. So even though you're not being, you think you're being washed or whatever, like I've said it before when people like, oh, I'm just going to get off, like my husband say, oh, we just need to go live off the grid. There is no living off the grid. If you're supposed to be found, somebody's going to find you. There is no living off the grid anymore.
Well, think
You
about it,
will be
because even
found.
probably in that little town you live in, there's probably cameras on the streets and they can
Oh, there
zoom in
is.
on your license plate and see
Yeah.
who you are and where you live. And
Yeah,
it's
you can
amazing when you
go.
watch.
Yeah, they have a website. If you go on and you pull up Lafayette, Tennessee, you can pull up downtown square and it'll show all the different cars driving by and what downtown in the square looks like. So yeah, but that's just like one of I think I said it before. One of my clients that I used to do, he works for Google, right? And this is the time when people were getting so upset about going into the airports and having to put your hands up and getting scanned. And my thing was, if you're not doing anything bad, who cares? Scan me. Do whatever you got to do. I'm not doing anything bad. I don't care. But people are like, oh, you're taking away. Whatever. Get on the freaking plane. It's not, it's a privilege to fly. So stop bitching about it. But he was like laughing. He goes, everybody has a cell phone. And he goes, and they're all worried about, walking through the airports and, putting their identity, putting their thumbprint. He goes, every time you put your hand on that, oh, how funny. I'm watching ourselves. How funny. Watching ourselves on your phone, you just put your imprint on that phone. You just gave the world, Google now has your thumbprint. Every time you push your home to your home button,
Yep.
and so when people are thinking, well, I'm not going to, well, they already have all you want as soon as you clicked on your iPhone. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
Isn't that
isn't
crazy?
it? What about you, Cherie? Have you experienced any type of deja vu you want to share with us? And then we can talk about the Mandela effect.
Ooh,
I love
okay.
the Mandela effect.
Okay.
That just blows my mind. I would say that's probably like
See that? You're going to educate me on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and one of the things that I wrote down and it stuck out to me on that YouTube thing, it says life is only a dream. We are just so perfect.
I
like,
love that.
I
Well,
like that.
Do you know Jim Carrey? He totally left Hollywood. He's not.
Yeah. I just thought he just retired.
Everybody says he's crazy, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I just watched him on a special, some comedian and you get in his car or whatever, coffee. They do a coffee talk or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh wow, I saw a different side, but he's a very spiritual man.
Mm-hmm.
He was very talking about becoming one with yourself. And I wonder if that movie has something to do, if that movie was his aha moment, was awakening to, wow, like makes you get a lot of those aha moments.
And he doesn't want to be part of that anymore. That tells me a lot.
That
So
says
what
a
you
lot,
say?
yeah.
I wonder if it's a past life experience. Deja vu? Yeah, I wonder if it's a parallel experience. So like, is it parallel lives? Because I believe in parallel lives too.
I wonder. Wow.
Because I believe so. In case you mess it up while you're here, your soul makes sure there's a couple of you. Now, have you ever experienced this? So I've met several people. Yes, I've met several people that have said to me, "You have a twin that lives in Idaho." I've been to Idaho and I saw you, and I was like, "I've never been to Idaho."
I hear that. I hear that they say your double ganger is. Oh, there's always two of us.
Right. So think about it. So why couldn't there be a parallel life too, where your soul said, all right, well, Terri-Ann might mess it up. So we're going to put it over here and Mary also, just in case Mary does it and Terri-Ann doesn't.
That's true. But who is there proof of that though?
No, there's no proof of anything.
So
You
is
never.
somebody just telling us that we have a doppelganger?
I believe there is. I had too
You
many
do.
people say to me that, and it's not just in one state. So I believe it's probably more than one person.
And you don't think it's just maybe your personality traits? Like your personality
It
could
could be,
make.
but they like look totally like me. I'm like, what the hell? Now I
Wow.
haven't seen these people. This is just what people tell me. Or
This
when
will
you
be
look at
interesting.
someone and they're so familiar, but you never met. Yes, I
Yes.
get that all the time.
I get that all the time too. I get that all the time. Like
People
somebody,
say to me, "Didn't I meet you?" And I'm like, "No,
no.
I
Yeah.
don't remember meeting you."
I
That's
get
could be I was in another reality too.
it happens to her husband all the time. How funny. It happens to me all the time.
Mhm.
But I think that's one of the reasons. But see, I don't know what the reason is. Why do I say that? Because I don't know what the reason is. But I think it's just our energy too. Because we can go into the store, right? My
Mhm.
husband will be standing right next to me. Nobody talks to freaking him. But man, I can't go through a store without not having a conversation with somebody. And it's
Really?
not like I come up and say, "Hey, how are you? Oh, do you like those cookies? Have you ever tried those cookies before?" No, they just like start a conversation with me. So, so I always say, like he says, "Do you have a stamp that says hi, talk to me on my forehead or something?" But I think it's just my energy is more open. So people feel more comfortable to do it. As when you look at his energy, is like, stay away. I hate
He's like
people.
my
I don't
energy.
like
I'm
you.
like, don't. I put my I don't want to. No, I just want to go to the store and get out. That happened to my husband the other day. Somebody was talking to him. She acted like I wasn't even there. I'm like, oh, you sound like you're from another place. Oh my gosh.
Really? Oh my gosh. And they didn't even acknowledge you. You're like, okay, I'm just
I was
here.
like,
Hello.
do you fucking see me? Like I'm not like quiet. Do you fucking see me? Now do you see me?
Do you know who I am? No, I'm just
Oh
joking.
my god.
But yeah,
Um,
okay, so yeah.
I
Um,
don't think we're ever gonna know until we're in spirit. Like we're down here like doing all these things. I think this, I think that.
yeah.
We
Oh
don't
wait,
know
here's
until we
that
get there.
other quote that I loved off of that YouTube thing,
From
and I
okay.
think I might even post this on my YouTube thing. It is nothing is fake, but everything is controlled.
Wow, that's
Isn't that a
powerful.
good one? I want to write there, shake the man's hand who wrote that one. I was like,
So
ooh,
no
I like
wonder he took off after. It
nothing
took
is
him a
fake,
while.
but everything is controlled. And I agree with that 100%. 100%. I agree with that.
I think there's too many. I don't believe in coincidences, and I think
Oh,
there's
no.
too many things that happen
Yeah.
to show you which way you're supposed to go, or if you're going the wrong way. Like I don't know. I look at accidents like a change of direction.
Right. Right.
Like it's something to get your attention.
Right. Right. Right.
You know, what were you doing? Were you not paying attention? Or like we weren't moving where we are supposed to. So the accident was like, okay, eyes open, now we're going.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like everything is set for you. And then you do this work, right? We do this inner work, and then we can change those timelines. I've actually not only timelines but contracts. I've been able to rewrite certain contracts now because of the
Mhm.
work that I've done.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. And you know what? I get that way right when it's going to change or something is going to move in a different way, like it should change. For example, I was like, you know what? I don't know. I was kind of going through just the last couple of days a roller coaster ride with working with my intuition and my readings and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to pull away from that. It's not feeling connected. I feel like it's Shuri on here. We were talking about this one time. It's like, I'm not an influencer. I'm not there for you to get that motivation. I want to really teach you and just get you moving, right? So I'm like, okay, so maybe I myself is going to step back too. I'm just going to take a little step back. So I'm like, okay, that feels really good. And then I got a job part time here at the salon, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I can start meeting people that will be away for, whatever. And I'm loving it. And then it was so funny. I'm like, I woke up the next day. I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm just going to devour myself into the salon. No joke. the phone rang and it's like, hey, can I get a reading? Ding, ding, got a text message. Hi, you don't know me. I was referred to you. Can I please get a reading? And I was like, oh my gosh, spirit. So then then I stood back and I'm like, you know what? Maybe for right now, I'm supposed to just do that balance. Now, maybe I'm not supposed to throw myself out there to social media. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
just supposed to be like, I doing this talk here with you, right? And then Cherie, I love working with her. And then I'm thinking, maybe that's where just I'm supposed to be right now. Maybe I'm not supposed to be that, have my face everywhere on Facebook, everywhere on Instagram. Maybe I'm just supposed to stay in my zone right now.
Yeah.
And that's my happy balance, right?
Yeah.
So,
Isn't that wonderful though? I think it's
oh,
so wonderful that you got that information and you're like, okay, I surrender to it, whatever it is. And we
mhm,
get maybe it's about balance. Like for me, like a lot of times a word will pop in or I'll see this word, especially if they want me to know it, like on a billboard or across
right.
my third eye.
Hmm.
Hello, in case you miss it. So
Yeah,
sometimes I think it is about that balancing, or is it that Anne can go in two different directions now? You're still see the problem I think we have here now is, and I know we're getting off subject, but
I
that's
know.
okay.
That's okay.
We're still in between 3 and 5D.
Hmm.
And we can go back to what feels natural. And as humans, we want to go back to what feels comfortable, what's acceptable,
Right.
what makes money in this world, or what does
Right.
this, or what makes your husband happy, or whatever it is,
Hmm.
right? 3D. Now we're over here at 5D, and you're like, okay, well, I want to be this person and doing the readings and helping people and talking on my podcast. How do I get to the happy medium? And it's about finding that balance,
There's balance.
but
Yeah.
how wonderful that you saw it and you could see it and say, okay, well, now, right now, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I always say, like Jeremy told me,
Yep.
Spirit, show me. Whatever you want me to do, just show me. Let me hear it,
Yep.
direct me, guide me, and I will do it and make sure that I know what it is.
And you said it exactly what you said in your phrase that you just said. And that is what I've been doing. And it seems like it's working out for me. But then I do have to say, it's so weird because, and sometimes I feel bored because it's just moving so,
Low.
yeah, yes, and easily because I did exactly what you just said. I surrendered. I say my prayers and just be like, you know what, Lord? How am I supposed to serve you today? Just show me what
Yeah.
I'm supposed to do. And ever since then, that's when it's like ding, 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 and then ding, ding, ding on this side. But I don't feel stressed. I don't feel like oh my God, I gotta work here. And oh my gosh, I gotta work here. It's flowing. But then when
Right.
you
Because
get
you
into that
surrendered.
flow, it freaks you out because it's like, okay, it's going a little too easy right now. What's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're so used to being that worked up,
Yeah.
overwhelmness that it feels good once in a while. I'm like, oh, okay, I like this.
Like me, I'm in a 40-day. Anthony guided me to take a 40-day
Yeah.
fast, a break from
Mhm.
everything. But I
Yeah.
got the call to do the show, the interview the other
Yeah.
day and speak. And I was like, okay, see those things, you have to be able to pivot and
Right.
say, okay, yes, I'm on a 40-day fast. That didn't throw me. And before it would throw me back into getting into that mode, work, work,
Mhm.
work. Like you were saying, I got to post,
Right.
I got to do this and that. No, I'm going back into my routine again, whatever that 40 days. So every day he guides me something different on 40 days.
I love
So
that.
I'm like, okay, but I'm listening. So I did the show. I asked, can I do the show? Yes. Okay. Did the
Mhm.
show, went back today to having fun with my daughter, doing my 40-day things, and not getting caught up in here about how
Yes.
I think it should be.
Yes,
How I
or
think it should
what
be.
everybody wants from me, what everybody else is expecting. Because there you go.
Yes.
Go back to that conditioning of the outside world telling you what they want from you instead
Right.
of what you want from yourself.
So actually somebody else is playing your simulation game because they're
Absolutely.
telling you.
Because that's exactly it. And that's why we don't feel in alignment. That's why we feel the anxiety. That's why we feel the depression because we're
Mhm.
letting somebody else exactly drive our car. They're the
Right.
ones who are stimulating us. We're not doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, very good, Miss Terri-Ann.
So
Okay,
let's
so
talk about the
yes,
Mandela effect.
yeah.
Cherie, do you know about the Mandela effect? I love the Mandela effect. It's mind blowing to me.
Maybe I know what this is, but
Okay, so look it up
educate
when
me.
we're done. But the Mandela effect, well, I just saw 4444 on our time.
Oh,
with the
Okay.
Mandela effect we're talking about.
Oh,
So
okay.
the Mandela effect happened like back in the 80s. They said that Nelson Mandela had died.
Yes.
Come forward, I think it was 2000s or something. All of a sudden, Nelson Mandela is alive again.
Right.
So many people swore he died in the 80s. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why they call it the Mandela effect. Now think about it. There's several different places that people see and remember it a specific way. The Berenstain Bears
Mm-hmm.
or the Berenstain Bears, however you want to spell it. It's either an A or an E, and they show you with both the A and the E.
Right.
So in two different places, it exists with an A or an E.
That's
So
crazy.
how do you remember? Because people are like, what do you mean it has an E? I swore it had an A. Or what do you mean it has an A? I thought it had an E my whole life. Now, I got rid of all my daughter's books, so I can't look at what her Berenstain Bears, but I called it the Berenstain Bears.
Yes. And that's exactly how I said it too. Well, isn't
Mhm.
that the same as tomato, tomato? Or is that how you
No,
pronounce
because
it?
this is spelled actually
Oh, it
differently.
literally spelled different.
Now think about this one. So there was something on the other day, and it was about oh my god, what was it? I think it was like Chick-fil-A, or the way they spelled Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was totally different than the way you think it should be spelled Chick-fil-A. Like, how do you spell Chick-fil-A? I don't even know. I should have looked that up before we
I'm gonna.
talked.
Oh, how funny! I just reached for my phone too. I'm like, I don't know. How do you put chick fillet?
See, I swore it was CHIC. My phone is CHICK.
Chick
I
fil A.
swore when, and maybe it was a Pennsylvania thing. My boys, we didn't have Chick-fil-A in New Jersey, but in Pennsylvania, CHIC. I swore it was CHIC filet. And I remember seeing it. So if you look it up, I wonder if it's Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, mine is the chick CHICK, and then
Mm-hmm.
Phil FIL, and then the capital A.
Yeah, so there's different things. So the Mandela effect is just like different types of things that happen that people experience as different from one another.
Oh my gosh! So meaning, well, okay. Give another example of has that happened to you? Have you had that experience happen to you?
Well, yeah, with the Chick-fil-A, I swore I was like, oh no. Let me see, Mandela.
Okay, but I'm
I
just
swore. I can't prove it, but I swore it was spelled that way. Not
yeah.
familiar with it.
Okay, there's a not familiar with this.
Okay, there's a movie called The Mandela Effect. Look for that one too.
Yeah, I'm going to.
That came
I
out in
just think it's so
2019.
interesting. So it's
Okay,
two same
where
thing with two different outcomes.
so the events have been collectively misremembered by thousands of people. So not just one person, thousands of people remember it a certain way, like they swore Nelson Mandela was dead.
Okay. Okay.
So the collective, thousands of people remember that he died in the 80s.
Right. Right.
Now all of a sudden in the 2000s he's alive. So it says it's a symptom of something larger. Their starting revelation forces him to make difficult decisions. So that's what the Mandela effect is about. Could have consequences for his entire world.
Okay, but the Mandela effect, to me, then I'll have to read up on it. But to me, that is because so many people were told misinformation and it just spread like wildfire. So people started believing it to be true when the other part of the people didn't get that information yet. So they still believe for him to be alive.
Right.
Right.
It could be anything. I mean, who knows? I don't know why it happens. It's just really
So
strange
it's
that.
just, yeah. But I think that goes back to perspective of what you believe, what you hear.
Right. What
Right.
do you watch? It's like, so they say it's a
Yeah.
group of
Like,
people
what
have
are
a
you being
false
told?
memory of an event.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it happens more than we think it doesn't happen.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I have to watch that movie, The Mandela Effect, now.
Well, you know what? We'll probably be able to use this effect when we come back in a couple of years and look back at COVID and be like, oh my gosh, remember that time we all walked around with masks on our face, whatever, whatever. And then you might get the elected people that might come back and say, no, it wasn't that bad. We didn't wear our masks just because they were the ones that didn't wear the masks.
Right. Well, you meet people now. Like when I was in Oregon, they're totally fearful.
Yeah.
My son isn't like that at all, so he doesn't fit in there. But here we're very lax. So they're obviously going to be like, "Oh, the pandemic was so bad."
Yeah, you see, that's what I mean. I think it's all your perspective because you're right. Because when we were on the road, and my whole attitude was, you know what? If I get it, I get it. I'm going to respect it. If we have to go into a store and we're going into somebody's business, if they say wear a mask, I'm going to wear a mask.
Right.
As soon as I walk out of that store or whatever, I take the mask off, right? But me personally, don't believe in the shot. I want to see more. Not saying that I would never get it. I'm glad I didn't now because it didn't make a difference. People got like a Fauci. He's on got his fourth booster, and the man has COVID again. Like,
Yep.
it's like, seriously, how much crap, whatever. Whole different show.
Whole
But
different show.
yeah, but when
we'll get thrown off of YouTube, you talk like that.
yeah, but we weren't seeing people with masks. And then when we went to go see my son in Connecticut, it was like we just went through a time warp. Like exactly what you're talking about. I mean, there was everybody with masks. I mean, we went into the grocery store, they were wiping things down. The cash people the guy was just standing there, and I was looking at him, and he's like, "You need to wrap up your own bags." He goes, "I'm not taking a chance." And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, but yet you're here, you're going to take my money,
You
but
gonna
you're
touch
not.
my dirty money, right?
So I'm like, all right. So, but you know what I mean? But that's where you start thinking like, okay, this is not making sense. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to line up all the ducks or whatever,
Mhm.
but not to get off thing, but it was a time warp because it was like, I mean, not just one person. I felt like we went into the whole town was just completely
Yeah.
masked up, and people
Yeah,
were
I
so
could totally
terrified.
see that becoming a Mandela effect. People be like, COVID? What's COVID?
Yeah. But then when we got out of that state, it was like, I think we had to get gas in one of the small little towns,
Mm-hmm.
getting outside of Connecticut, left Connecticut, and I had to use the restroom. So I put on my mask to go into the gas station. And this old man in his overalls, he looks at me. He's like, honey, he's like, I think it was Ohio. You're in Ohio. Take that thing off your mouth. There's nobody. That is not coming here. And you're just like, okay, well, Roger that. But yeah, so I think this is going to be in a couple of years exactly what you're talking about. That
Right.
Mandela effect.
Yeah,
I
crazy,
think
isn't
so.
it? What about this example? When you think of somebody and they call you. Now, is that not freaky?
That happens all the time, especially with my girlfriends, all the time. If I'm thinking about somebody enough, it might not be the same day, but it's either going to be later that night or early the next morning. It's not going to go a couple of days, but it's going to be like, oh, wow, it's just thinking of you. Or
Well,
that
yeah.
text come through.
And
Yes.
then I'll call somebody. So if somebody's name pops in my head, I'm in the shower. All
Yeah.
right, Diane. Okay. Text her. Hey,
Yeah.
you just popped in my head. You want to talk? And usually it's like, oh my God, thank you.
That's definitely, but that's where you had that connection with that person's energy. I remember one time we were going to. It's not so much the thinking of that person. We
Mhm.
were going to my nephews at their school. They had a little fundraiser fair going on, and we were got there, parked, waiting in line, and then all of a sudden I just started crying, and I'm like, "Why am I crying?" My husband was looking at me like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, it must be my sister. My sister's crying for some reason. And she was already in the park something. So, I was just, here you are embarrassed. I mean, I was crying and I'm like, where is this coming from? So it had to be my sister. And then when I got there, I looked at my sister and she was crying. I'm like, why are you crying? And she's like, oh, I just heard bad news about one of my friends or whatever. But it's that connection that we have that is like, okay, why am I crying? If I don't even know why, but it was
And
because I
so
was
we're not
feeling
the
her
only ones
energy.
who have that.
Yeah,
We're not
no.
the only ones.
Mm-mm.
Everybody has that. So if everybody has that, whether you know it or not, don't you think that's a little interesting?
Yeah, it doesn't,
Obviously.
right? So why I would like to know when people don't believe in the spiritual realm like we do, but yet they experience exactly what you're just talking about, right? The deja vu, the seeing somebody that you just feel like you've seen before. Everything that we've talked about tonight, they've experienced it. They will say that they experienced it, but yet they'll be like, no, I don't believe in that. Like where do you stop being that way? I think that's when you stop being curious. And I think that's when you're a person that lives from the outside world, not the inside world.
Yeah, or you'll say you make you justify everything, right? Well, there was a reason for that, or that
Right.
was because of that, or whatever, you know. Until
Yep.
you see a spirit go from one person and jump into another, like I
Yeah.
did, you'll change your friggin' mind.
But how do you explain the deja vu? If you can't even explain it yourself, how do you explain that to somebody else?
It's
Right?
really hard, but I think I think I'm gonna say they're telling me like 50%, but I'm just saying they're being safe. I'm gonna say almost everybody probably has experienced deja vu at one time or another in their
I
life.
think everything that we've talked about, everybody's experienced it
Mhm,
at one
mhm,
time.
mhm.
I will be shocked if we ever met anybody that says, "No,
Yeah.
I've never had a deja vu. No, I've never had a premonition on something."
We
I
should
would
do a
challenge
show.
that.
Did we do a show about we should do a show. I've had
We
so
should
many premonitions.
do a show on premonition. That would be a very good one. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this was a good talk tonight. I like this one. Yeah, this was good. This is good. All right.
Me too.
So
So
yeah,
thank you for joining us. Thank you, Cherie, for showing up and supporting us and joining our
yeah,
show. Next week we won't be live. We'll be doing a recording, but it'll be up. We'll put it up on Wednesday or Thursday,
yeah.
and that'll be there. But then the week after, we'll be back to doing our live again. So thank you for joining us. If you like our channel, like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you
Yes.
next week.